Hey everyone. So episode 4 is just dividing with decimals. So this will be pretty easy still if you have a strong understanding of the last video, which everyone does, I'm pretty sure. So there are two types of division with decimals, and here they are. So the first type is a decimal being divided by a whole number, which we have right there, 40.5 divided by 5, right? The decimal is in the dividend and the whole number is the divisor. The second case is a decimal being divided by a decimal. And right there we have 62.6 divided by 3.4, right? Both the dividend and the divisor are decimals. So each type of division has its own set of steps, like decimal divided by whole number has its own steps, and decimal divided by decimal has its own steps. So, but first we're going to go over the one, decimal divided by a whole number, and here are the steps for that. So we divide as if the dividend and divisor are whole numbers. Okay, so we're basically ignoring the decimal point in the first step. But step 2 says move the decimal point directly up from the dividend, right? That's a really easy step, and I'll show you. And it's important that we write our problems down correctly to get numbers to get step. Oh my God. And it's important we write our problems down correctly to get step number 2 right, okay? And then 3 is just insert zeros to hold place value. So I'm gonna put those steps to the side, and we will work on example 1. So it's a word problem. I'm gonna put that on the side as well, or somewhere where you can see it. And the word problem is Mr. Miller bought 3.9 pounds of candy corn for a Halloween party. He divided it among 9 friends and himself. How many pounds of candy did each person get? Okay, so it says I bought 3.9 pounds of candy corn for a party and I'm sharing it across 9 friends and myself, right? So if I'm sharing it across 9 friends and myself, that's 10 people, right? So if I have 3.9 pounds of candy across 10 people, if I divide the amount of candy by the amount of people, then I'll get pounds per person, right? Like a unit rate. So we have 3.9 as the dividend, right? Because it's the number being divided, and 10 as the divisor, because it's the one doing the dividing. So step 1 of these problems says divide as if the dividend and divisor are whole numbers, right? So we're kind of ignoring the decimal right now. How many times does 10 go into 3? 0 times, right? And so if it goes into the first digit 0 times, we check the next digit, right? Or the first 2 digits. So how many times does 10 go into 39? And 10 goes into 39 3 times, right? So if we do 3 times 10, oops, if we do 3 times 10, we get 30. And now we have 39 minus 30, which is just 9. And then we can bring that decimal point straight up, right? Straight up from the dividend, right there. But we have a 9 here, right? We want that to be a 0. So we can actually insert zeros into the dividend like this. I'm going to write it in green so you see. And then drag it down. And then we ask, how many times does 10 go into 90? And that's 9 times, right? And then we have 9 times 10, which is 90. And then we subtract. And we're done. So we say each person got 0.39 pounds of candy. Okay, and now you're gonna try one. Okay, so the second case of division with decimals is dividing a decimal by a decimal, right? And so here are the steps for those. So step 1 is change divisor into a whole number by moving the decimal point to the right. Step 2 is move the decimal point in the dividend the same number of times. Step 3 is divide. Step 4 is move the decimal point straight up. And number 5 is insert zeros to hold place value. So again, it's not that different than the last set of steps, but we're going to run through an example together. So example 2, Let's do 67.2 divided by 0.56. So the first step was change the divisor into a whole number by moving the decimal point to the right, okay? Remember the divisor is the one doing the dividing, so it's 0.56 in this case. So we change it to a whole number by moving the decimal point to the right twice. 1, 2, right? And then it says we move the decimal point in the dividend the same amount of times. So also up here, or in the 67.2, 1, 2. And so that 67.2 actually becomes 6,720, right? Because we moved the decimal point twice, and it's divided by 56. Cool, so now we have our new expression. And then step 3 is divide, okay? So we do 6,720 divided by 56. So how many times does 56 go into 6? 0 times, right? 56 is way bigger than 6. What about how many times does 56 go into 67? 1 time, right? And then we do 1 times 56, and we get 56. 67 minus 56 is 11. Carry down this 2, we put here. Now how many times does 56 go into 112, right? And that goes in twice. So 2 right here. 2 times 56, sorry, I don't want to draw it messy. 2 times 56 is actually just 112 right on the dot. So that's 0. But we still have this 0 up here we need to deal with. So we're going to drag him down. And how many times does 56 go into 0? That's 0 times, right? And then 0 times 56 is 0, and we subtract. And we have 0 down here again. And then step 4 is move the decimal point straight up. But where is the decimal point, right? So these are all whole numbers now, right? Um, and actually, whole numbers also have decimals. They're just not written most of the time, right? It's actually right here. That's where the decimal point is, and we bring it straight up, right? So we can say that 6,720 divided by 56 equals 120, right? We could put 120.0. That's the same thing, right? But we can just say it's equal to 120. Alrighty. Um, so one more you're going to try on your own, and that'll be it.